Welcome, everybody, to the Week 13 and final edition of the CFF List Waiver Watch Draft. Another playoff edition. If you're watching now, you're probably in your championship, or at least wishing you were. We had a mixed week ourselves. We'll get into that in just a little bit. But I'm J-Mill. I got my partner, as usual, WilleB. How you doing today, Willie?
Rainy Sunday morning, but doing all right.
Rainy Sunday in Oklahoma. Nice and sunny and moderately cool here in New Jersey for all the weather fans. um, all right, Willie. I don't know if we should start with the bad news or just jump right into our scores. Our scores in the waiver draft were better than the outcome of our Kings Classic disappointment. Let's just get that out of the way real quick, I guess. We for those that have been keeping up, we've been happy to announce our winning streak and our point totals in Kings Classic, but we got to man up and let you know we're not going to run from it. We lost by nearly 100 last night, and we had Gabriel in who didn't finish in his game, but it's easy to say it wasn't just him. What do you think about the performance, Willie? Anybody in particular let us down that you had in mind, or just a bad luck week as happens in fantasy football?
No, I mean when we consistently are in the top, I'd say at least the top three. I
Mm-hmm.
would say most weeks in scoring, um, and that doesn't happen, then it's just across the board, bad situation. And like I said, those happen, and unfortunately, it happened in the quarterfinal or
Right.
the semifinal, and that just stuff just happens.
Yeah, I was going to say, in a weird way, as we started getting blown out as the night progressed, it made me feel a little better about the Gabriel situation because we thought we'd have that advantage with Milrow just playing one half. That's who we were playing against. And then, Gabriel had 19 in the first half. It looked like he was on his way to at least a 35-point game. But as the day went on, we saw that it was going to take a lot more than 20 more points from Gabriel to win. And I had talked you into playing Holker instead of Stover. I was just hoping we didn't lose by only 7 points, and then I would have to feel bad all day until next year about talking you into playing Holker, which didn't work out. I think he ended up being the lowest of the top 12 tight ends in his performance, and Stover got a touchdown. But even I looked at our bench, even if we had substituted in every single player that like our maximum lineup this week, it wouldn't have worked. So just bad luck. We're going to
No,
give our best to the Gridiron Scholar and Dynasty Pros Tom, who was actually on one of the waiver drafts with us earlier this year. So
yeah,
actually, both guys, we had the pleasure of having them recommend some good picks, and obviously they earned their position in the finals, and we're happy they joined us on the waiver watch this week or
yeah.
this
No,
year.
I mean, it was a good switch. I mean, especially with Tom. I mean, he beat Gridiron, and then somehow gets the 4 seed, which we'll talk about that in the off season. But
Right.
um, you know, uh, formidable team Tom had. But like I said, I'm one of the ones that would I'd rather have my ass blown out.
Me
And
too.
as far, I mean, pause. But instead of losing by 10,
Yeah.
I'd
Or
like I said,
instead of having a
I'd
coach.
rather yeah, rather than being a coach, I'd rather lose by 100. That way, I knew there was nothing I could do to fix the situation and win. So
Yeah, there is no worse feeling, I think, in fantasy than the one or two guys you could have put in to win you the game. Like in my BTR, that was my other disappointing when I made the really bad mistake of playing Tua Junior against Tua two against Michigan, thinking like he's going to be having to throw the ball all game. They're going to be playing from behind, and to my dismay, they put in the backup quarterback who got 3 rushing touchdowns on the tush push instead of my guy getting those 18 points, which would have actually won me the game. But then to make that worse, I had Peasley on the bench and I had Fowler Nicolosi on the bench, who both had more than the 12 points I needed to win that game. But I was one of the victims of the Jaden Daniels massacre, like that happened last night to so many people. Jaden Daniels with 60, depending on your league, 60 to 74 points if you had a 4-point touchdown league or 6. But I was watching a lot of leagues where guys had 50-point leads. In our home league, a guy in our playoffs had a 50-point lead. ended up losing by 20 because he was playing against Jaden Daniels. But that was an amazing performance. But
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, people listen to our our best worst podcast, because, like I said, then hand this guy his Heisman and let's just
yep,
move on. Because
yeah, you called.
when you get that, when you score the top in the quarterback position the week before and you follow that up and you almost hit it again, I mean,
Right,
I'm sorry, this is a wrap.
right,
So.
yep. But with
And like I
that,
say, in fantasy that happens also. I mean,
yeah,
you hate to be the one that has to face the top guy,
yeah,
and so a lot of hearts were broken last night. So yeah, go
yep.
ahead.
Oh no, that was it. I was going to say, let's get on to the better news. We did receive some positive messages over the weekend. We had a lot of DMs chatter going where we helped some guys out and really made us feel good, specifically to see our guy from Nasty Boys, forget his name on Twitter, but he was picking up everybody we recommended last week. He's in a kind of a head-to-head best ball format, it looked like, and 6 or 7 of the guys we recommended last week got in for him and did well, which is, that's what we do this for. We're not here to hear ourselves talk. We're really just hoping that, we can save you a little time of not having to do all the research as in depth as we are, so you can, plug in better players week to week. And um, we were on point this week. WilleB had his second week in a row with over 100. Ended up with 114.2, which is now his fourth time this season to get over 100. I've had 5 over 100. I ended up getting over the number of 90 that we like to achieve as kind of a minimum barrier. I ended up with 91.8, and 7 out of the 12 recommendations we had hit the marks. And by the marks, I'm talking about, that 20-point quarterback we look for, those 15-point running backs and receivers, and those 10-point tight ends. So we'll go through it. Willie, you not only beat me head to head this week to bring us to a 6-6 record, creating a big final showdown between you and I. I was more upset, I think, than losing than you actually passed me up on your season average. You're now 93.5 on average per week compared to my 93.3. So it really couldn't be tighter there. So not only will we be playing, I think, for the head-to-head championship, most likely the winner will also kind of be the unanimous champion by having the season scoring title for the average and the head-to-head title, because we are so close with the 93.5 versus the 93.3 for the season average.
Yeah, I knew you would notice that.
I was
It was
mad,
like I
more
say,
mad about that than the loss.
It's like I said, I mean, guys, we've been having these little competitions since we were 12, and it's always, whatever it is, whatever little edge, it's gonna get noticed, and so
Right.
that's just one. So
Yep. But you are now officially the leader. Walk us through your team, and who really created this 100+ week for you, or what you thought about them in general, and then I'll walk through mine really quick, and then we'll get on to the
okay.
the final draft of the season.
Yeah, first of all, I'm really upset with Travion Rudolph and the fact that, I felt like he would have a big week, and I was really hoping to get that, that 120 again. And so his 8.7, that was definitely disappointing. But the guys who stepped up, Nino was talking about Justin Jolly, the tight end
Yeah.
from UConn. When you get 22 from a tight end, man, that's just gravy.
Yep.
Uh, Kelly Akari has just been balling out. 31.8. I'll have to let's look and see where those points came from. But look, yeah,
He
he's
had a
just
couple of
been
touchdowns. Yeah, he had a couple of touchdowns. I know that. And then he's like we've talked about. He's been on the waiver wire 3 or 4 times in the last 5 weeks, and people just keep ignoring him. I think because he's playing for UTEP. But he's once he had that 42-point game 5 weeks ago. I think people felt he was the big fluke because he had 2 points right after that. But I've got him in my notes this week, so that's why I know this. He's since had 25, 25, and then 32 this week. So
mhm.
hopefully that was one of the picks that we were getting applauded for helping a guy out this week that helped him get to his championship was Akari. So
Yeah. Yeah.
good job.
So, I mean, officially, 11 targets. He had six catches for a buck 38 and two touchdowns. So, I mean,
Right.
he's just been doing what he does. Amos ran really well.
Second week
So
in a row.
I was really happy to see, him get back up. I mean, yeah. I mean, he's had 3 weeks in a row above 20 points a
Mm-hmm.
game. So for him to continue that, I was really happy about it. And then I didn't get to even catch Gunnar Watson's game. I saw that you'd come in and plug that in. Getting 20 from him and getting to that threshold. I mean, but as a whole, the 114, and then you know being able to finally catch you and then actually surpass you on the season average. That was just gravy, and the fact that now we get our true championship because weeks ago I thought this was over. I mean, last year I'd won 9-4 as far as the weeks, but to have a true championship this week, I'm really happy with the turnaround.
Yeah, yeah, you did a great job. I'm just happy we're both kind of in, a few points over 90 because we scream all year about how that's the number we want to hit every
Hmm.
week. And the fact that we're a few points over that, and I think our overall average now, because of your performance for the entire group, ourselves and along with the guests, is now at a 90.2 for the entire season. So we shoot for it and we have achieved it, and I don't see any reason why we can't do it again. I'll walk you through, again, my team. It wasn't a disappointing one really, except maybe our guy Sean Dollars was the biggest disappointment. Just a classic case of not getting in the end zone. He had the volume that I thought he would. I've had him a couple weeks in a row, and he's been getting us 16, 18 carries. He had that again. Uh, I think basically his 82 or 8.2 came from about 65 or 70 yards rushing and a catch. So I was just missing the touchdown. Um, Drake Stoops, I think, was affected. Well, not think. He seemed to be clearly affected by Gabriel going out, and all the chemistry we talked about him building these last few weeks was kind of out the door as soon as Jackson Arnold got into the game for Oklahoma. So, um, you know, might not be such a safe play if he's a guy you're relying on in the finals because we don't know what if Gabriel's going to be back since concussions these days seem to keep guys out for at least the next week. So we'll see what happens there later in the week. Uh, Bauman from Tulane, he's been a little bit up and down. I thought he had gotten to the point where he was a little more consistent, got the 5.6, which at this point in the game, not happy with that. But happy to see, our guy Sean Adkins get his 10 catches for 90. It's always cool when you can get 19 points just from catches and yards. So that was pretty amazing to see a guy, anytime a guy gets double digit catches, it's pretty fascinating. And then for the second week, the same way you had Amos in the midweek games 2 weeks in a row, I chose to have Marion Lukes, who ended up with 17-8 for his third or fourth big week in a row. But the star of the team is a guy we mentioned you would need to pick up for your playoff run. We had him stashed in the Kings, waiting to play. He was sitting on our bench. In Kings, he ended up with 36 points because it's a 6-point touchdown league, but I got 30.9 here. And he's got an even better matchup in week 13, if I'm not mistaken. So it'll be interesting to see if Willie jumps on him, or maybe I will. I know he's on my list of 4. I guess kind of leading into it, Willie, not that you got to take him, but how many quarterbacks are on your list, and is Vadiato at least one of the guys on your list?
Five, and yes, he is one of the.
All right. So anybody not taken, as usual, we will make a point of kind of unloading our entire list since we've only got 2 quarterbacks each and 4 running backs and receivers each. But again, we know it's the championship. It's a limited group of guys even playing this week. But if you really find yourself in a pinch, or maybe like some of the guys that DM'd us, maybe you're in a best ball where you just need to give yourself some better options for bigger games. You could take a couple of these guys and probably do yourself some favors. I'm going to be the one picking first this week. Willie will get back-to-back picks since he's going second, and then we'll just alternate from there. So there'll only be 2 back-to-back picks with Willie getting the second and third person off the board. Um, as mentioned, I do have my 4 quarterbacks that I think I like no, 1, 2. I actually have 5 also. Well, at least that'll be interesting to see how
Oh,
many are
okay.
different from each other.
Excuse me.
Yeah, no problem. I guess I'll take the position that's been the toughest to fill here again. Um, it's a guy that people started talking about last week when we got inside of that number of 4 games remaining in the season. Um, that's the point where you can play a true freshman and they're not going to lose their red shirt. So Colorado State made it a point of naming Justin Marshall their starting running back. He's a true freshman that's really came out and produced since they've decided they were going to make sure he played in these last 4 games. He's owned by 8%, so he's one of those guys that even if you're in a deep league, there's still a good chance he's out there. He's playing against Hawaii, who's 118th against the run. And what I like about him, he's only played in 2 college football games, but in his first 2 games of real action, he's produced 18 and 14 points. So I really like what Justin Marshall's showing us as a true freshman. And I especially like the fact that he's going to be playing against Hawaii and get to show off a little bit more before the season ends for Colorado State. And they're clearly, not throwing the ball like we thought they or as effectively as they would in the beginning of the season. So I think being able to lean on him is helping him a little bit. Lastly, he's also dual eligibility for a lot of leagues. He is listed as a running back and receiver. I think running back's the hardest position to fill here, so I'm going to plug him in the running back spot.
Yeah, I like that. Especially the context because I didn't look too deeply into
The background.
yeah, as far as having that eligibility and them utilizing it. So, but yeah, he was number one. He was number one on my running back list. So I like the pick.
Good.
Um, I was going to take this guy first, and I text you about him um, over the weekend or right after I think one of our podcasts or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm jumping right into the fray, and I'm taking a guy who it's a travesty that he's available.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should be ashamed that they do not have Harold Fannin, the tight end from Bowling Green, on their roster. If you don't have a tight end, um, this he's averaging 13.1 points a game. He's still only 28% rostered.
Yep.
He's just been doing it over the last month. Um, and if we, like I say, he had the 3 games, the Michigan game, then Miami of Ohio and Buffalo, where he slipped a little bit. But if you've been watching him the last month, and we've kind of been maybe glossing him. I know I just looked over him because we always see him in the top 12 in our best worst, and so I just assumed the guy wasn't available. And then lo and behold, he's still under the 30%, which
Yeah, and it was
is
yeah, it's pretty
ridiculous to me.
amazing. He was. Sometimes I wonder also with these group of 5 guys, it might let you know just how many leagues out there on Fantrax might be Power 5 only because you do tend to see these group of 5 guys with a lower percentage. Um, and I think that is affected by a certain percentage of leagues out there just being Power 5. So apologies if you're in a Power 5 only, but Harold Fannin is a guy that hopefully the guys that are using all the teams can benefit from. He I looked. He popped into the top 12, I think, 2 weeks ago. What's interesting is with his last 3, which are 25, 20, and 25 points again. Um, from what I looked at the quick glance, and I know you kind of tighten that list up before we talk again tomorrow. He looks like he's up to actually that was yeah, he's up to tight end 4 right now. And his points were, sorry, I was looking at
Wow.
another guy. His points are 20, 22, and 26 in the last 3, but he's now up to tight end 4, based on those 3. We've talked all year about like a true worthy tight end being one that can not only go back to back, but get double digits 3 games in a row. Not only has he done double digits 4 games in a row, his last 3 have been in the 20s. Like
Right.
that's why he's surged up the list and is now up to tight end 4, and he's available. Like Willie said, it is a crime that Fannin as tight end 4 for the season is not there. So if you're in
Well,
this
he
guy is championship roster worthy for sure.
yeah. So a little context though, J-Mill. I think you have the week 0 in there, and so I don't include that. So because I show
Uh,
him as going to be tight end 10
okay. Yeah, yeah.
because of
I
that.
was just
So
looking quickly. Yeah, I did it
yeah, yeah,
without a
yeah.
filter.
I got
Okay.
you.
All right. But still, 20 plus in the last three, pretty amazing. So, all right,
No,
who you got?
yeah, you're right because I didn't sort by points per game. So no, you're right. He is 4.
Okay.
Man,
All right.
that's awesome. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah. Pretty cool.
um,
And
yeah,
he's just a
yeah, but
true, by the way, guys, he's just a true sophomore. So if you're in a dynasty league where you could still pick guys up, run, grab him quick.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That
All right.
that's the other thing.
So you guys
Um,
haven't seen us this excited over tight end in a long time, but we got to give him props when we can.
No, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, now, I mean, so if you're not in the championship this week, hopefully, if you are in a dynasty or something like that, this can still help you. I mean, that you're still looking for guys out that you can get on your dynasty team that can help you. This guy should be on a roster.
Yep.
So
Okay. He was
with
my
that,
number one, so I choosing from three others.
so you got my number one running back. I got your
Right.
number one tight end. So I'm going to go with the next running back that was on my list, and that's going to be Tyrone Tracy Jr.
No, yeah.
Uh, from Purdue. I just like what he's been doing the last few weeks. I mean, I think I've talked about it. I've been on the verge of maybe drafting him,
Mm-hmm.
but I just haven't. But now, let's see, he's had back-to-back 30-point games
Right.
against Minnesota and Northwestern. They get Indiana, who not too well on against the run. I mean, he's getting you the 15 carries, he's giving you the 100 yards, he's getting you the in the end zone. So I like Tyrone Tracy against Indiana this week.
Yeah, the quick backstory for people that don't know about him, he's a converted wide receiver at Purdue who just became a running back this year. I don't know necessarily if he's got running back in his high school background. Usually that's how that works. If a guy's come to the school as a receiver, they know he's played some running back in his past, and they decided to put him at running back this year. And it's maybe that's why you're not seeing him emerge until later in the season at running back, also because he is a converted wide receiver. But like Willie said, he's got back-to-back 30-point games to kind of show that he's definitely learned what he needs to learn to effectively be in that running back position.
Yeah, and it's
So,
just one of those things that, you get your athletes on the field, if he, not going to start at wide receiver, hey, how about playing some running back.
yep,
So,
yep.
and 6'1", 210. I mean, he's got that build. So I just expect more things. I mean, a month's worth of 10 plus carries, that's what you want out of your running backs. And, that way, you're not splitting that much time. So I just think bigger things ahead for him. So
Well, I'm not going to make it too difficult here for myself at receiver. And, as long as they're under 30% rostered, they're legal. So I have a feeling I'm going to snipe somebody else from you here, Willie, and that's our guy, Kelly Akari, who I think we've alternated having in our waiver watch lineups these last 2 weeks. Um, and again, a group of five guy that's 13% owned, that could be just as sinful as Fannin not being on a roster because this guy's only, after a few weeks of being talked about, only on 13% of rosters. Um, but we mentioned to start when we were going through your lineup last week what he's done. He's had 25 plus in the last 3 weeks, and 5 weeks ago he had 42. So his only blunder was 4 weeks ago with a 2 point game. But he's had 25 or more in four of his last five, and those four big games he had 125 plus receiving. He's proven he is the go-to guy for UTEP, and they're playing Liberty, who we kind of think of Liberty as a really solid team. They're still 120th against giving up points to wide receivers. So I'm happy to play him against Liberty. They're also 96th against the pass, and they've given up 21 touchdowns. So don't be nervous about the Liberty matchup. It's actually a good one. It's a favorable one. And again, this is a guy that I think you could proudly set in your championship team, your championship lineup.
yeah, I mean, I hope you're right with that. obviously he was on my list because
Hmm.
he deserves to be.
Yep.
But when I look at I actually had him fifth because I had five wide receivers,
Okay.
and I had him fifth.
Okay.
Um, the one thing I will say about Liberty and in our home league, I actually started Liberty the last 2 weeks, so I've been kind
Hmm.
of watching them. And I understand it was the Old Dominion and UMass, but they do a little bit better than you think, and so that's why I just kind of pushed him down a little bit. So
Okay.
that's just something to be aware of. But a small Willie warning, but with Achille Akari's ability, I would not be surprised.
Right. Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, I like the pick.
So we don't get an official double endorsement on that one like we did with the other three.
No, 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 no,
All right.
no.
That's fine. All right.
Um,
Back to you.
yeah, but as the snipe, I thought this was going to be your play, and
Okay.
I'm happy it's not. But I'm going to go with the guy. Um, he's just been impressive.
Hmm.
Watching him live against Oklahoma a couple of weeks ago, and then UCF, and then yesterday against Houston. We're going to go
Hmm.
Brandon Presley from Oklahoma State.
Oh yeah.
He had 15 catches, one shy of the school record. Not sure why they couldn't give him another bubble or something, but he had 15
Yeah.
receptions for 189 yards. Did not get in the end zone. Still scored 33.7 points.
Yeah. And you can't get 15 catches without having even more targets. 19 targets this week, guys. 19 targets for Brennan Presley. Pretty amazing.
And so they get a game BYU squad this week,
Yep.
who still BYU. This is going to be an interesting game because this is going to be the future of Big 12 football. So
Right.
one of the teams who are going to be trying to vie for who's going to be the next Oklahoma or the next Texas.
That's a good
So
point. I thought about that last night when I was realizing this is the Thanksgiving weekend matchup, which was not by accident. That's the Big 12
mhm.
really saying, like, we feel like BYU is going to be one of the better teams in this league competing against Oklahoma State for future Big 12 championships. So, they don't just plan these Thanksgiving matchups, accidentally. So I think they're trying to set up the new rivalry here in year one.
Right, and I agree with that. I mean, but the other one obviously is going to be, I think Central Florida is
Hmm.
going to have something to say about that. But I just feel like these are the two that should be looked at as what their future is going to be.
Right.
So, but I like Brennan's matchup this week for sure.
Yep. Uh, okay, so back to me. Uh, I'm going to stick to what's working here. Be curious to see if you do this with your second running back also. I'm going to go Marion Luke for 3 weeks in a row at running back. Our guy from Central Michigan. He's rostered still on only 12% of teams, even though in the last 4 weeks, he's averaging his season average is 14.2, but over the last 4 weeks, he's really averaging closer to 22 points a game. He's had 21, 26, 23, and 18, and he's getting in the end zone. Those points have all come, with the touchdown. They're playing Toledo, who's 84th against running backs. I know they've had a good season, but they do tend to give up some yards. They're giving up close to 150 yards a game and 14 touchdowns, which is a little bit tight, but it's still middle of the road. It's not a powerhouse defense there in Toledo. It's really their offense, I think, that's been carrying them. So I think there's room for Marion Lukes to have another game that's at least close to 20 points and plug in some holes for you. I'm going to go my last 3 weeks, close it out with Marion Lukes here.
Wow, interesting. No, I like it. I
Yeah.
do. I like it.
If
Um,
people are going to take him and keep him legal, I'm going to keep pushing him.
yeah, there you go. Um, there were some interesting guys still available in the running back spot, so I think I'm gonna wait on
Yeah, and you
that.
don't have to take one now either,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think I'm gonna wait a little bit on that. You took the dual threat Justin Marshall already, so that leaves me with only two wide receivers left on my list. So,
Elvis Presley was number two on my list, just for the people listening at home. He was number two for
okay. Okay. So, and I know this guy, he had actually had a down week last week.
me.
Um, and you chose him, and we're talking about Sean Atkins.
Yeah,
Um, he had a down week, but he still scored 19.2. And I
right.
think and I think the reason is that he didn't get in the end zone. So,
Is he
uh,
still under 30?
yeah, he's still well, he was last night. I would
Okay.
imagine that
Well,
that
I just
hasn't changed because
for some
I don't
reason
think that
I didn't catch him. I didn't catch him when I was scanning the list, but yeah, I'll take your word for it.
yeah, I don't think that they update these very much in the morning. So he's at 26% rostered.
Okay.
They get Charlotte this week.
Okay.
So I just look for Adkins to continue what he's been doing, and that's going to be, 10 plus targets, and he's going to get you his 8 receptions. So
Yep.
yesterday he had 10 for 92. Like I say, he hasn't been in the end zone the last 2 weeks, but he's, scored 26 and then 19 points. So looking for him to get in the end zone. He's only had one receiving touchdowns in the last 5 games, so he is
Mm-hmm.
definitely due. On the season, 79 receptions for 900 yards. He's just a solid guy. So
Mm-hmm.
I like
Okay.
what the Bulls are doing, and yeah, give me Atkins.
Okay. Well, I was kind of playing the quarterback game. I didn't want the pressure of going first, to be honest. I was hoping you'd take one so that I could say, "Oh, I didn't get that guy. I'll take this guy." So now, since I clearly don't need I mean, I guess I could still take a receiver or a tight end, but then I'd look like a punk because like I don't have to take those guys. So I'll
Hmm.
break the ice and take the quarterback one. Um, I've got five on the list. There's really, truly three here that I'm considering, and I'll name them all because you've got your list already. I'm choosing between Garrett Green from West Virginia, who's phenomenal this weekend, and he's had quite a few big games this year. Vadiato from Middle Tennessee, who we've talked about, and then Peasley from Wyoming, who I had on a waiver watch draft mid-season, and his averaging 20 points a game, and he's playing against Nevada. Um, but I think it's those top two, Green and Vadiato. I'm almost flipping a coin with here. Uh, and Green's a guy I had him back to back weeks mid-season. So I think, phew, man, it is tough at that one. That's
Do
and
you
it's
remember
just
how far that was?
how many weeks
Let's
ago?
see. I see it. Yeah. So yeah, week 8, he got you 29.7,
Yeah, and then I think I took him the next week, and he was a little
and
lower.
18 and a half would have been the one after that. But no,
I
let's
didn't
see.
have him.
Yeah, let me scan. No, you took Peasley that week.
Okay. So Peasley and Green in different weeks. I think I've had all three of them. I had Vadiato. Well, I had Vadiato this week. So yeah, these are
Yeah,
guys who
and
continue to be here. I trust.
hmm
They've all been solid. I think I'm going to go Garrett Green. I mean, you can't, in my opinion, shy away from a guy who's averaging his pure total average for the season is 25 points a game. That's pretty consistent. I think maybe he's had one game under 20 points this year, but he's playing against Baylor. Um, Baylor is giving up a lot of fantasy points against quarterbacks, but I want to look at the real number. Yeah, they're giving up 233 in the air. They're 80th. So that really kind of matches up. That they're not very good against the pass. And according to Fantrax, they're actually even worse than that in fantasy, giving up 115 points to quarterbacks. So I'll go with Garrett Green, and hope he doesn't come in deflated or have kind of a doesn't regress after a big 40 plus point game this week.
yeah, I mean, I'm glad you did that. I knew he was there. I did not put
Mm-hmm.
him on the list. On
Okay.
my list, the only guy that you mentioned that was on my list is going to be Vadiato.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm going to save that for last because I'm not even going to take Vadiato. Feel free to take
Okay.
Vadiato, gentlemen. Everyone else out there, but I'm just going to give
Yeah,
you another
we're all
name
endorsing that.
later on. Yeah, so I'm going to give you another name later on. But so here, I guess it's my
You
running
can
back
take yeah,
spot since I'm
yeah, it's your
it'll
choice
it'll be
now.
yeah. So um I'm kind of shying away from this one. Should be a no-brainer. I just don't know how healthy he is, and with it being championship week, I really just can't take that. I can't necessarily take that chance. He,
Well, who's that? Since we're down to
that
nobody being able to
that's
snipe each
yeah,
other.
it's yeah. And I don't want to do a stack of any kind, so I'm gonna pass up on Taryn Keith.
Oh,
Um,
from bowling, and you don't know
yeah,
if Stewart's going to be back to eat
right.
into whatever he's been doing too. Yeah,
Right, right. So I think I got to pass on him, which is,
I think that's smart.
that's yeah, that's just a little bit unfortunate. So sticking to the list, if I don't go one more,
Well, your other guys there, if you want to
um,
go three in a row like I did, you've got Rashad Amos that you've had 2 weeks in a row that has worked out. He's playing Ball
mhm,
State.
yeah. So he's actually the next guy on my list,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm thinking that I mean, three straight games of 20 points. I'm not gonna steer away from that. So yeah, we're gonna go Rashad Amos.
Well, I like
My
it. They've given us that opportunity to, do some tweets in the middle of the week and say "I told you so" to people. So hopefully we'll be able to do it again because I think they both play in another early midweek game. As Maction continues on.
Yeah, well, actually, he's got a Saturday game this week,
Okay. All
so
right.
people get to see him live in action. But like I say, 8% rostered, another sophomore. If you're in that dynasty league, take a look at the kid. I mean, um, you know, he's got 150 carries, 780 yards, and he's got 9 rushing touchdowns. Um,
Yeah.
only lost the ball once in those 150 carries, so
Yep.
not bad for a young kid. So,
Yeah. Six
um,
six of those TDs are in his last 4 games. So he's
yeah,
he's he's a clear starter that again, towards the end of the season as a younger guy, he's getting his opportunities and taking advantage. So I think I'm going to go to just kind of fill them in order here, get my next receiver out of the way. Um, these guys are kind of they're not nearly as much of standouts as Akari and Presley were to me. Um, and again, to kind of, we always talk about them at the end. We can kind of work them in here. I'm looking at Rock Taylor from Memphis going against Temple, who's really bad on defense. Javon Baker from UCF, who uh, has just been Mr. Consistent in terms of he doesn't always get you those big games, but he's going to always get you at least 13 to 18. In 9 of his last 10 games, he's had 12.4 or more, and 3 of those have been 20-point games. Jabri Barber, Willie's guy from last week, Elijah Surratt, has really been coming along, at JMU. And I think that's who I like the best here. I think I'm going to go with Elijah Surratt. I'm going to jump on the JMU bandwagon. He's still just rostered in 21% of leagues. They're playing Coastal Carolina. He's averaging 18 points a game, and he's had 27.9 in 3 of his last 4. His low in the last month has been 17 points. And what we really like more than anything is his 14 and 15 targets in the last 2 weeks. So you're looking at a guy that's well over 10 targets a game. He's got 14 and 15 these last 2 weeks and has really emerged as the go-to guy there at James Madison.
yeah. So one of two things are gonna happen here. And J-Mill, I love the pick here. He was the last wide receiver I had on the list. I
Mm-hmm.
was almost inching that if you didn't take him, I was going to petition to change my pick, but
Okay.
to him. But and the reason why I think I actually slid him down on the list last night is one of two things is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
They are going to uh, not show up because that heartbreaking loss they had yesterday. So they're no longer, uh, you know, uh,
Mm-hmm.
shooting for, you know,
Yeah,
going
they shouldn't have
perfect.
their hands.
But yeah, have their heads down, or they're going to have something to prove, and they're just going to lay it on Coastal. So it's going to be one of two things. So just be aware of that. Because if he peters out and it doesn't happen, that's probably why.
But yeah, I was sleeping on him, when you guys were talking about him. But he's these last 3 weeks in a row here, with these games, not just in the teens or low 20s, but high 20-point games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So yeah, let's finish it up with your quarterback. Let's see who you got, and while you're at it, just walk us through the decision of who's left on the list. Since you said they were all different than mine, I did want to take a chance and guess at who I think you're going to take, just for fun.
Hmm.
Um, and it's a guy that you teased last week, and a couple people asked us about him in our DMs. I think you. I have a weird feeling you might be going Jalen Henderson from Texas A&M, playing against LSU.
Actually, no.
Okay, all right.
I actually kind of forgot about him.
Yeah. He's
Uh,
on 2% of
uh,
roster. Yeah, he's kind of the new flavor of the month. As the kid that's just emerged. He in the 2 games he started now, he had 32 2 weeks ago, and he had 21 this week. So,
yeah. So
um,
no, actually, I did not forget about him. I just didn't like the matchup.
yeah.
When we're talking about LSU, we're talking about the Heisman and all this.
Hmm.
Yeah, they play some decent teams, and yes, they give up a lot. They give up points, but I mean, this is the Daniel show. So
Right.
I didn't want to get involved in that. So that's why I left him off my
Sounds like
list.
you just, even though LSU is giving up yards and points, you just think that LSU outmatches A&M overall.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
All
yeah,
right.
we can talk about the other guys later. But let's just get
Okay.
to the Nick grit. Well, it's going to be we talked about the Purdue Indiana game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to be watching that game actually intently now, but we're going to go the opposite. I'm not stacking here. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
go with the freshman from Indiana. We're going to go Brendan Sorsby,
Okay.
who is 2% rostered. Um, Brendan, the last his last 5 games, 19.9, 22.5, 18.2.
Mm-hmm.
He had the 40.9 game against Illinois, and then he had 21 and a half against Michigan State yesterday. So
Okay. Yeah. Pretty impressive.
yeah. So he's had 10 touchdown passes in his last 5 games. Um, he he's another dual threat guy. He's not going to get you a lot of yards, but I like the fact that he actually has the attempts, which means that he's capable of
Yep.
getting out of the pocket. So
Yeah, he's got
that's what I
a lot
like.
of 40 and 50-yard games, and he's
Hmm.
scored a touchdown rushing in 3 different games also. And in 3 of the last 5 weeks, he's had a rushing touchdown. So
Right. And
that's
so
a good one.
that's what I'd like against a Purdue squad who, when we're talking about defense, I like the matchup against a Purdue defense more than I would like against LSU. So,
Yeah, I like that it's 2%. I mean, again, even with these guys that are under 30, if they're in the high 20s, sometimes you still can't get your hands on them. So, yeah, I like that you went with the Power Five guy who's only 2% owned, which means there should be a lot of opportunities to go grab that kid.
yeah, and that's what I was really trying to accomplish with the a little bit of the roster this week, not only for the people who are actually playing in the championship, but for, like I say, the listeners that we have, giving you something if you're in the dynasty or whatever. If you're in a dynasty and you can't pick up something is a little wrong unless they just pause it for the playoff
Well,
teams, I get it, but this is still somebody for you to some couple of guys for you to think about when you are able to start picking up again in the off season.
yeah, or even
So,
yeah, if everything locks down, these are guys to put on your supplemental draft list for next year as well.
mhm,
All
right.
right, I'm going to close mine out with the tight ends. We're going to put him on here for 3 weeks in a row. Nino had him 2 weeks ago. Willie had him last week. I'm going to take him this week and hope I'm not too late. I don't think I am. It's Justin Jolly from UConn. He's on 13% of rosters. He's playing UMass. This is, the big UConn UMass showdown here. The former powerhouses in basketball. Uh, Another guy that's now averaging in double digits. He's 10.6 points a game, but love the fact that the last 3 he's had 17, 13, and 22. And even more than that, I love that he's had over 10 or more targets in the last 3 games. So, it's really not a fluke that he's getting the points. They're not coming out of nowhere. They're coming from a ton of volume, especially for a tight end. I mean, this is 3 weeks in a row of a tight end getting 10 plus targets. So I think you can't go wrong with Justin Jolly. as a tight end in your championship game. I think the two we have here could compete with anybody else in that top 12 list of the year-to-date top tight ends. So, you know, hopefully you can get one of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I only put two on my list, so I felt like these are the two no-brainers. So like you say, don't be afraid if you can get your hands on either one and play them.
Correct.
So
Yep.
uh,
I'll
and
mention my others. I had Jordan Smith from Temple, who's again, now that Warner's been back, Martin Robinson and Jordan Smith, the two tight ends at Temple, have really been stepping up. He's had double digits since Warner's been back for 3 weeks in a row. He's only owned in 7%. The last one is more of a warning. Dan Villari, the tight end converted to running back that Willie mentioned last week for Syracuse, had
last
another.
quarterback.
Yes, and started as a quarterback. Had another 12 carries this week, which sounds very appealing. And by all means, if you can get him for your roster, like we've been talking about in dynasties, go for it. What scares me is the news is coming out this morning that they're firing Babers this week, and we don't know what that does to the offense. I don't know if I want a coach who is the offensive mind of my team. I'm not going to trust that Villari is going to have the same kind of workload this week because the head coach is going to be gone. It's going to be a new coach, or at least an interim coach, trying to come in and make his mark. And we don't know that Villari is going to get his 17 and 12 carries. So just a little bit of a warning if you're high on Villari. Maybe temper it just a little bit because you don't know what's going to happen there with the coaching change in this final week of the season.
Now, did you get the Sports Illustrated notice on your phone like I just did, or did you trigger it because it just popped up
Oh, really? No,
right when you said that? Yeah,
did you
yeah,
fire him or?
yes. He
No,
is
that's so
fired.
funny. I had just seen it on Twitter before we started that it's expected to happen. So
Yeah, no,
that is so crazy that your phone's
yeah,
listening again. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It popped up right when you said
Wow,
that he just
that's
got
so
fired.
crazy. Yep.
Yeah. So
Okay.
wow,
Yep. So be
interesting.
careful. I do like that. If Babers was there this week, I would say maybe go with Valari. But like I said, you just don't know what a new interim coach is going to try to do to make his mark in this final week. He could decide they're just going to throw the ball 100 times. Who knows? So.
Right, because I was looking at that situation and going, okay, well, what's going on with Allen?
Mm-hmm.
You know, why is this guy running so much? It was the question.
Right.
But so another tight end in outside of the two, I really don't feel that comfortable. But we got to mention a guy, and Nino took a chance on him the last time he
Mm-hmm.
was here. But Rivaldo Fairweather, I mean, he's
Oh
had
yeah. Yeah.
double digit points in four of his last five. I think the it might have been the game that Nino took him. He had the 7.1. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's what happened. But 14.2, 17.8, and then yesterday 13.4. That's what you're looking for if you're looking for a top 16 tight end right now. That's he's performing in that realm. So if you're
Yep.
in a pinch and you need it, maybe
Yeah, Fairweather's there. I had him. I
yeah,
had him in my notes also. I
yeah.
was just a little bit scared of the Alabama matchup, but again, as we talk about, when teams are struggling and they can't do anything else, usually they'll, you know, ditch it off to the
and
tight end just as
and
they're running
and
through their lives.
and I understand that it's Alabama, but the thing is, if you're just in a pinch, who else are you going to take?
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
Exactly.
that's what I'm looking at there.
Yeah, and again, we've mentioned a lot of group of five guys, kind of forgetting. So, there probably are more leagues than we even realize that are Power Five only. So there's your Power Five recommendation, or one of them for the tight ends, along with maybe Villari if you've got to take a chance. So,
Hmm.
um, running backs, you had mentioned you were out, right? You had exhausted your list.
Oh,
I
no,
got
no, no. My wide receivers on my list is exhausted.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take the chance. All four of these running backs were the four I had on my list, along with one other person, which is Mark Fletcher from Miami. He's 21% owned. They're playing Boston College, who is really susceptible to giving up points to running backs. And he's had 14, 16, 5, but then bounced back and had 28 this week. And really, we wondered beginning of the season, even middle of the season, who running back one is for Miami. Well, it took them all year, but it looks like Mark Fletcher is at least going to finish at running back for Miami. And he's had 18 carries these last three games, which is saying something in terms of you know him being the man there. So that's the one running back that remained off of the draft board that I would recommend to go after if you need somebody.
Okay, so yeah, no, I had a couple of other guys. I almost took Davin Booth from Utah State, 3%
Right.
roster. They play at New Mexico. Um, I like there's two guys from North Texas, but the guy I was thinking about taking this week is going to be Oscar Adaway the third.
Hmm.
They have UAB, and then the last guy is Anthony Watkins from Tulsa,
Right.
4% roster, and they have ECU.
Well, there's one more. Devon Vele from Utah is playing against Colorado. And guys, if you can get guys playing against Colorado, why not? So if you need a Power Five guy, Vele from Utah's there. I know we've got three of our four here, group of five. Um, Vele's had over 20 points in his last three games for Utah. So he's emerged as a clear wide receiver one, and he's getting to play against. He gets the benefit of getting to play against Colorado in their last game of the regular season.
Okay, I like that. And we
All right. Well, that's been it for the final uh, waiver watch draft. This is also the finals with WilleB and I battling for the best head-to-head record and the most average points per game for the season. So we'll see what happens. Good luck, Willie, and good
thank
luck
you,
to
sir.
everybody in
Good,
their
yeah,
championship games.
yeah. Good luck to you also. I like the squad. I'm looking forward to another 100 and
All right.
uh, taking the points. So,
In the title.
yeah, taking the title. So, you guys, good luck in the final. Thank you for watching and listening.
Adios.